Judge Clarence Thomas was bribed by real estate developers, taking personal gifts and trips. The same for Alito. He was also taking quid pro quo gifts from special interests. So this country is rotten to the core. Judge Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts, was the one that flooded the country with unlimited campaign contributions for political candidates to run for office. Now, corporate America has stepped in and they don't have no limits to how much money they can donate to get candidates elected with quid pro quos. Let's take Trump, for example. Trump is in the pocket of Saudi Arabia. They laundered $2 billion into Jared while Trump was in office towards the end of his administration. Because Trump has always been in the pocket of ExxonMobil and the oil companies of America. Particularly when he was reading out the Robert Mueller report while he was colluding with Putin in the Russian Arctic with Rex Tillerson. So Trump has been dealing with OPEC by bribing the House of Saud. And in return, they laundered $2 billion into Jared, Trump's son-in-law, to be laundered into Trump real estate holdings. The Egyptian Egypt president, they laundered $10 million into Trump. And Trump laundered the money to his campaign PAC and then made it payable back to him for reimbursed funds. So he laundered the Egyptian $10 million from the president of Egypt into his campaign and then wrote it off as an expense to be paid back to him. So Trump pocketed the $10 million. And Trump is always, from the beginning of his political career to the end, enriching himself with corrupt oil company board members of Exxon. And he's been making a fortune for himself. Now Trump has opened up a crypto company, his own crypto company, for he can launder to the black markets of the internet with cryptocurrency. These governments, they will use shadow banking in the dark web to launder crypto into Trump's holdings with that cyber crypto company that he wants to start, that he started before he won 2024. So Trump is basically, now he's gonna, foreign leaders, and I know this because I work with intelligence in the shadows. So I know my information is correct. So Trump is planning to use his crypto company for foreign leaders using the dark web and shadow banking to launder money into that company. So he can do oil deals of his interests with his oligarchs in the oil companies of America to make oil deals abroad. And in return, heads of states will launder money, like I said, through shadow banking in the dark web. They will launder crypto allowance to his company for Trump to start to cash it in for himself as being the owner of that company. So that's how Trump is planning to make a fortune in his second term, to launder foreign money of sovereign leaders, so he can be bribed with quid pro quos to make oil deals abroad on behalf of Exxon board members. Trump has always been in the pockets of the oil companies of America, and he's not ashamed about it. When Trump got indicted in New York for tax fraud, real estate fraud, bank fraud, business racketeering with his real estate development deals, they fined him guilty and charged him with a $500 million fine. And since Trump couldn't find a bond company to put up the money for him because Trump was so bogged down with different cases that he didn't have the money to pay for that lawsuit penalty of $500 million that was charged to him in New York. So Trump went to summons all the oil company CEOs of America to Mar-a-Lago and insisted that they gave him $1 billion for he can launder it to his Save America PAC to pay for that fine of $500 million. But what they did, the corrupt Republicans in New York, they appealed it to a corrupt judge that was lenient towards the Republican Party. So instead of paying $500 million, they lowered it down to 100 and some odd million. Because Trump is corrupting the judicial system. With the 2025 project, what they want to do is they want to fire judges. They want to disbar judges from the bench throughout the whole country, from the grassroots all the way up to the federal level, to appoint loyalist judges that are loyal to the mega movement. So they want to pack all the courts, they want to impeach all the judges that don't see it Trump's way, and they want to appoint loyalist judges, all the way from the grass levels all the way up to the Supreme Court, to be loyal to the mega movement with the 2025 project. And at the end of the day, Trump doesn't have no shame in his game when he business racketeers in the Oval Office. He's always been a robber baron using the White House to enrich himself with quid pro quos. And he's not ashamed about it. So at the end of the day, what Trump is planning to do is corrupt the whole system from the inside out. He's going to fire and vet out the FBI and only leave Republican registered FBI agents in the federal FBI agency. The same for the CIA. He wants to vet out the CIA, the NSA, the Pentagon. He just wants to fascistly put loyalists in all the administrations, agencies, and in the bureaucracy. He wants to even force Democratic Supreme Court justices to be impeached out of the bench, like Sotomayor. And he wants to replace the Supreme Court judges with Republican mega loyalists to the Supreme Court. You know, I heard Mitch McConnell say yesterday that he's for filibustering Puerto Rico from becoming part of the Union. And his excuse is that Puerto Rico citizens in the island are registered Democrats. And for that reason, he's against making them part of the Union. Because he feels that we don't need no more Latinos to be registered as Democrats. So for that reason, he wants to filibuster Puerto Rico from becoming part of the United States as a Union member. And Mitch McConnell has been a dictatorial, lifelong senator, reminding me like a Roman toga in the Senate of Rome, with gold reliefs on their heads while they eat red grapes and wines, serving as emperors for life. That's what Mitch McConnell is, a senator for life, appointed like he's ruling over an empire. That's why I believe in limited terms for all three branches. Limited and equal terms for all three branches. So if you want to be in Congress, you can serve for 4 years. After 4 years, you have to run for re-election. You only get 2 terms. If you win 2 terms, you get 4 for each term. 4 years for each term. The same for the Senate. And the same for the White House. And the same for the Supreme Court. I don't believe in judges for life on the bench as dictatorial rulers like Trump wants to do for the 2025 project. That they want to appoint leaders in the Supreme Court judges to be dictatorial suppressing the nation with fascism. So the Supreme Court justices also has limited terms, equal and limited terms. All three branches, equal and limited terms. So the Supreme Court justices can serve for 4 years. After 4 years, if they want to run for reappointment by the voters of America, not by the senators, not by the congressmen, the Supreme Court justices have to be put in a bench by people voting, the citizens of America voting them in. And once they get voted by the popular vote, then they serve for 4 years. After 4 years, the Supreme Court justices, if they want to serve for another 4 years, they have to run for re-election by the American citizens to vote them into their benches. If they get to win the second term, they serve another 4 years, and that's it. 2 terms for the Senate, 2 terms. So all 3 branches have equal and limited terms. The White House, the Supreme Court Justice, and Congress and the Senate, they all have equal and limited terms. And so at the end of the day, the judges throughout, from the grassroots levels all the way up to the Supreme Court, will get voted in by the constituencies of their districts as far as citizens. The citizens will vote the judges in on their benches. And the judges will serve a limited term. But they will be appointed by the vote of the population of their jurisdiction within their districts. The citizens will appoint the judges, not the senators that are life-serving, toga-wearing, imperial toga-wearing senators like Nero, Caligula, Caesar. America is not an empire of Roman senators wearing togas and eating grapes for life as imperial aristocrats, ruling with impunity their empire. This is not Rome. This is America. This is not an empire. It's a democracy. So, at the end of the day, and I also believe that the Supreme Court should be equally divided between the Democrats and the Republicans. So there will be 5 judges on the Supreme Court that are Democrats judges, and there'll be 5 judges that are Republican judges. And they're not appointed by the Senate or Congress. They're appointed by the citizens of the land when the judges run for election. So I'm doing away with the corruption in the judicial system when it comes to Trumpisms. I'm doing away with his totalitarian rule of this nation that is filthily corrupt to the hilts. Filthily corrupt to the hilts. I'm not going to let Trump think that he can be a robber baron in that Oval Office and has immunity because he's doing a business as a president, so he can get away with quid pro quos by taking money from Egypt, laundering it into his pockets, by taking money from the crown prince, laundering it into his pocket. That's not official act of a president. That's an official act of a corrupt business racketeer, a grifter. So I don't want to argue with the Supreme Justices, Clarence Thomas. I don't want to argue with you. Judge Alito, you're corrupt. Both of y'all take bribes. So I don't want y'all to rule over us for 2025 projects of Trumpisms. Y'all on your way out. So at the end of the day, the Supreme Court will be replaced by a just system. A just system for the American people, for the people, by the people. We're as citizens the ones that that have the authority to appoint the judges when we vote them into the benches. It's not toga-wearing senators like Mitch McConnell, a racist, phobic pig towards Latin America that is willing to do the bidding of Trump, saying that Puerto Rico doesn't deserve to be a part of the union because we're registered Democrats. So what, we live in captivity in that island, imprisoned, without the rights to be represented in Congress, without the right to be represented in the Senate, without the right to vote for the president candidates? We're to be kept in captivity as an island of floating garbage? Is that what y'all think at the Republican Party? They got something else coming to y'all. So at the end of the day, we owe it to the citizens of this land for the judicial branch to adhere to the will of the people, not to their dictatorial opinions. We don't want judges for life with their selfish opinions of corruptions dictatorially oppressing us from the bench as dictatorial rulers for life on the bench with their selfish opinions of their illegality consciousness to rule with corruption under that robe that you call justice. So at the end of the day, there's a system that's a revolution in this nation. A revolution against fascism. A revolution against imperialism of totalitarian Trumpisms. And we will be rebelling. We will rebel to reform this corrupt government into a just system that is for the people, by the people. Not for selfish, corrupt judges. Clarence Thomas, Judge Alito. Not for capitalism, Judge Roberts. Yeah, the corporations can buy us out and appoint quid pro quo judges or presidents like Elon Musk buying Trump into office with unlimited campaign funds. At the end of the day, y'all on your way out as corrupt officials. So my reformation of government of all three branches, my initiatives is to have limited terms for all three branches, equal and limited terms for the Congress, for the Senate, and for the judicial branch of government. If you want to run to be a judge, you have to run for election, and the citizens will vote you on to the benches. They'll get to serve equal and limited terms for all three branches. So at the end of the day, y'all are elected by the people for the people. And y'all have equal distribution in the Supreme Court. So 5 Democrat judges in the Supreme Court and 5 Republican judges on the Supreme Court. So at the end of the day, justice will ring. Righteousness, the freedom of liberty from the oppression of dictatorial rule of judges that want to phase in impunity for tyrant leaders to reign over us, for us to live under captivity under a dictatorial ruler that uses racial bigotry to suppress minorities that cannot be allowed in this country. So at the end of the day, let the voices of freedom ring. Let it ring, let it ring. We yearn to be free. Let freedom ring. Liberty and justice will rise as sure as the sun of the dawn of a new era of liberty for all.